So let's welcome Jeremy, Creative Director at FreshBooks and Jazz, Principal Designer at FreshBooks.
Are you going to start this thing?
You're starting this thing.
Oh, I'm starting. Okay. We're trying to build rapport.
We are.
Alright, so hi, I'm Creative Director at FreshBooks, Jeremy Daly. I'm also, whenever I speak, someone in the audience is like, aren't you the guy online? I wear short shorts online and a turtleneck, and I follow people around the internet and do crazy performances. So there's always someone in the audience who's like, I thought you were crazy. And I'm not going to say that I'm not crazy. That's my life, and it's going to pepper through the presentation. I'll bring some of that art spice. But the other piece of spice is the most misogynist thing I've ever said. I'm so sorry.
Okay, let go. I'm Jazz. Say it just like the music. That's easy. My background is engineering, a little bit different. I won't bore you with stats or equations or data, even though that's where I started, so I promise I won't do that. But I got into design because I was really interested in the brain. Why do people do what they do? And that's how I got into design. And I want to start with a question. How many of you have been told to do something because the data is telling you to do it? How many of you have been in that situation? Maybe it's like this, like a typical boardroom. Some people, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I have. It's a no-brainer. The data, you get some data, you get some insight, it tells you to make a decision.
Bank account is empty, fill it.
Bank account is empty, fill it, exactly. So I was recently, I'm going to start with a story, I'm going to start with some data. I was recently, I was recently asked at FreshBooks, what applications should FreshBooks integrate with? What would be really useful?
Actually, I forgot to say.
What is FreshBooks? Anybody? So FreshBooks, we are a cloud accounting application. We're built for service-based businesses, people that are out there, they're creatives, IT professionals, working and billing by the hour. So
I think some of you are probably yawning. It's really boring, right? It's accounting.
It's really boring. No,
we think that no one should ever have to learn accounting. Accounting should be fun. In fact, probably shouldn't have to do it. But we're around to make it painless, or hopefully a little less painless. So this data, let's get back to
this data. So we know our customers, they are using FreshBooks, but they're also using other applications, and we wanted to know what are they doing. So I lead a team, and we started out with a survey. We started out by asking our customers, and we sent it out. We got 400 responses back. We got a ton of detail, a ton of data, and one insight that really jumped out was 30% of our customers use Slack. Or Slack.
Slack, it's popular.
It's amazing. This is great insight. And so we had some data. We knew, or we thought we knew, what we needed to build. We needed to integrate FreshBooks with Slack. And we also made some assumptions here. We made some assumptions about what we wanted to build and why people would need it.
It's some great ideas, right? I love ideas. I'm an artist, I'm creative ideas. This is actually some artists called the Yes Men. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they come up with crazy, creative ideas. This is their solution to global warming. It's a survival lawsuit. It's like climate change couture, they call it. So when there's the apocalypse, because of climate change is coming soon, don't worry, then you can wear one of these suits and survive.
What an idea.
Probably not a great idea, actually. I mean, maybe a good idea, but not going to solve global warming. So, when we come up with ideas, we often make a lot of assumptions, don't we?
We do make assumptions. And we're trained to go out there and to validate those assumptions. That's really important for us to do.
Yeah, so, but like assumptions, I get it. Everyone's like saying, you got questions, assumptions. What's really at risk, Jazz?
What's at risk, Jeremy? Everything's at risk. Our jobs, our livelihoods, the business, the whole business.
Hey, I think something went wrong with Are you on Windows? The business? What's a business, Jazz? What is a business? I hear this business thing all the time. I thought, well, look, I used to think business was just a lot of white guys in suits, maybe firm handshakes, a lot of data and spreadsheets, complicated stuff I didn't understand. What is it they call, regression charts? I don't even know. All kinds of weird Excel stuff that I just didn't understand. But they made deals. They made it happen. So I used to think that's what business was. And then, I don't know, I talked to some people, I did some reading, I did what designers do well, they research, they read a lot. I figured out that business is actually, design's not this good. This is actually a toilet by Maurizio Catalan, solid gold, 18-karat gold. It was in the MoMA for several months over the summer. So I put this up as symbolic of business because really what business is don't do this. Don't make a golden toilet, and then don't flush all your money down the toilet. Whatever you do, business is about not flushing your money down the toilet. If you have money, you want to put it somewhere, you want to invest it, you want a business, don't put it in the toilet. What does that mean, though? It's really about a few risks. It's about mitigating risks. And so actually, it turns out in business, there are really only kind of 3 big risks. And for me as an artist and a creative director, this was like, and a designer, this was like, whoa, that's that simple? Let me walk through the risks for you, and then later, if there's someone in business here, they can tell me I'm totally wrong, but just believe me, this is somewhat well researched. So first of all, you have product risk. Product risk is, like, does this thing work? Will people use it? A lot of the Hopper stuff that you're just looking at, that's a kind of product risk. Should we invest more in making people use this? Should we get it from 3% to 26%? Then you have customer risk. Like, if I have a solution, who is it for? Do I have the right customer? Do I have someone that has a problem that I can solve? And then there's market risk. Will people pay for that thing, my solution? Once I find a customer, once I solve a problem for them, will they pay for it? And will they do so, hopefully, massively at scale? So at FreshBooks, we've been around about 15 years. Hasn't it been that long?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you've been
14.
there.
I've been there
4 months.
4 months.
I've been there 7. I've been with FreshBooks for 7 years, actually, a really long time. Too long. Job offers out there. I'm hiring, but I'm also willing to get hired. So at FreshBooks for 15 years, we're doing mostly just, around in circles the first one, product risk, right? We had a market, we have a product people love, actually. We have hundreds of thousands, millions of customers, actually, that have used our product, and they're willing to pay for it. We generate over $50 million of revenue every year. It's a very successful business, actually. 300 employees here in Toronto, wonderful people like Jazz and myself. And, so generally speaking, we've been just making the product better over time. And it's been really wonderful. It's actually quite delightful. And then a few years ago, I was tasked with redesigning the product from scratch. And again, the message I got from the executives was like, just don't fuck it up, Jeremy. Just don't fuck it up. We've got it all figured out. The business is here. Don't screw us. But when we were redesigning our product, we were also redesigning the platform and the technology to make it possible for us to do new things for the first time. Because we had this really old technology stack, it was almost impossible to do anything new. Could bore you to tears with that. But it meant that for the first time ever, we were going to have 2 new risks that the design team was going to have to deal with. Which is really exciting, right? The boardroom is kind of us saying, hey, we want to do new things. What should we do? That's kind of a big responsibility.
Amazing.
Yeah, as a designer, it's kind of my dream. And I was like, but I don't know anything about business. So it was on me to kind of figure this out. I was lucky to have a good team around me. And so for the first time, we had to figure out who our new customers might be and whether they'd be willing to pay for it. So we were heading into uncharted territory, and we needed a map. We looked for a map, and I'm an artist, so we found a canvas. And this canvas, this is a lean, actually this is my friend Petra Courtwright, she makes digital paintings. They're really awesome. But we looked for a map and we found a canvas, found the lean canvas. Now Jazz is going to tell us what the lean canvas is, what the hell it has to do with data and board design. Hopefully we're not too off track here, and how
We'll get back to data.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
So this is a lean canvas. It's a little less colorful than that beautiful one by Petra. And what it is it's a map here, and it's mapping in order all your assumptions. And it's kind of like bingo. You validate all these things in an order, and you win. Get a step, and you win. And so, for example, what we find is that some of the riskiest assumptions are around the problem and the customer segment, way over there. And that's okay though. As user experience people, we know how to validate these things. We know how to go out there and talk to people about understanding the problem and the customer. The other area that we focus on, and we focus on next, is the solution. So we're used to doing that too. We're used to going out, talking to people, testing our solution. What we do here though with the solution is we get people to commit. We ask for credit cards. We get payment doing the solution. And we do this using 3 types of interviews, and this is familiar to us. We get out there, we talk to users, we do this all the time. And so the first interview we do is a problem interview, and that's where we go and we list all the problems and we test whether people have these problems and how did they solve them today. We want to understand what kind of workarounds they use, and then we ask them to rank those problems, rank their pain, essentially.
I have a lot of pain.
We all have a lot of pain. We can talk about that later.
That's hard.
The next one we do is solution interview, and this is where we go and we, like I said, we test that solution and see if that solution is solving customer problems. And the key part of this one is, like I said, we get people to commit, we get people to pay. Because there's a difference between people saying they would use it, we hear that often, yeah, of course I'd use that. But what we find more often than not is that they lie. So the solution interview, get credit cards.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us are used to showing prototypes, right? And user testing and asking people like, hey, would you use this? Well, yeah, they don't want to hurt your feelings. I hate to break it to you. They lie all the time.
And then the next one we do is the MVP interview. So this is where we test out those user experience hotspots. We test out the usability. We might test out marketing. What are we putting out there? Are people understanding what's on that landing page?
Great.
So I'm going to get back to our Slack example. And in our Slack example, what we did, we had some data. We had that 30% of our customers, and for us that's big, 30% of our customers are using Slack. And we use that to inform a solution. So we actually skipped the problem interview.
I told you not to do that.
Even us.
Never skip the problem interview. Everyone always wants to skip it.
Everyone wants to get to the
because they want to
solution.
get to the visual. The solution's so exciting. It's survivable.
We keep repeating these mistakes. And so what we did though is we went out and we talked to people and we talked to people about the solution. And we realized we were wrong. No one wanted our solution. No one. Absolutely no one. We also talked about the problem. We realized people didn't have these problems. And our customer as well. Even though we had some insight from the survey who our customer was, when we went out and we talked to creatives, we realized they weren't using Slack as actively as IT professionals or some other segments. And so we realized our customer was wrong as
They're
well.
just like basically bullshitting, like chatting on the Zydex channel.
Exactly, they aren't using it.
I think you're missing something. What about the business stuff I was talking about earlier? Remember the business stuff just a few months ago? The rest of the whole business?
You're right, yeah. And we have to test, we have to know, is the price right? And so we're working through that. If you want to get to the prices right here, we have to know if the price is right. And what we're doing, so like I said in that solution interview, we get commitment, right? We get credit cards, we get people to pay. In this case, it's a little bit different. What we're measuring with an integration is churn. We're looking at what's the likelihood people are going to stay with FreshBooks over the long term. And so our commitment in the solution interview, the thing that we were asking for, were people going to install this integration, this app, this beta, in their own Slack channel, in their environment. And so that was a commitment. We think it's going to indicate churn. However, what I want to say here is that that's, again, a leading indicator. That's what we think is going to impact churn. What we're testing, though, in market is whether these results will stand up at scale.
So, I mean, this is a terrible presentation, I just want to say. Because we're presenting an unfinished, this is literally something Josh and I are working on this week. We thought it'd be more interesting to bring something in that's not finished. So we don't have like we figured it out, there's 120% lift in Slack usage among FreshBooks users. But what we want to talk to you about is a process, a process of discovery and how we use data to inform a design that's like on the ground live right now. So, for example, we haven't got this thing to market yet, right? And we're just finishing up solution interviews. We think we have something, and we're getting commitments.
Yeah,
right?
we're getting commitments. We're relying on qualitative data, though, to drive our next decisions, right?
And I think this is the key thing that we wanted to get across to all of you, which is that basically, you're working on this stuff, you think data is this, you have this quant data, it tells you what to do, no questions asked, right? Someone in the boardroom walked up to you and said, hey, you gotta build a Slack integration, and I want you to build this. And then what we want you to do, or the message we want to say for you is, hey, why don't you just ask them why? Why are we doing this, right? And then when you ask why, they're gonna start to tell you why they think they should do it. And they're gonna use their opinion, probably tell you why. And you're gonna say, well, that's interesting. Those are interesting assumptions. Let's go ahead and validate those. And that's the only way we're going to find out if you're right. Or we can waste $1 million, $10 million figuring it out. Be wrong, and do it again. So that's kind of our talk. Thank you. We based all of this talk on someone else's work. Actually, it's not even our work. We used a book called There's a great thinker in the product space, and I know this is a design thing. We talked all about business, but Ash Morat really transformed our design team. Reading this book, Running Lean and Scaling Lean, the sequel to Running Lean.
He lays out exactly problem interviews, solution interviews, scripts, all of that good stuff.
Very pragmatic book, which we're always looking for. But I wanted to say, like, the biggest thing on our design team has been getting designers to think about the whole business, to question the assumptions coming out of the boardroom, out of the Excel spreadsheet. And this is one of the resources we're using today to do that. Thank you all. We're open to questions. We'll also enjoy it. We're hiring.
Oh yes, we're hiring. We're hiring. Yes.
Everyone's hiring. Any questions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we start out with the problems. So we start out by asking about the problems, and it's
zero mock-ups to start actually.
Zero
The
mock-ups.
first design
Conversation.
is zero.
conversation. And if those problems resonate and we understand, we have some discussion about that, we do then show a demo. Sometimes it is more of us showing the demo, sometimes it is people thinking through. It kind of depends on what we're trying to do there. And then we do ask, after that, are these things solving the problems that we talked about earlier? Because we want to get a sense of, are these things matching what we sometimes do? Often our solution, though, it's something, minimum feature set, you might hear that a lot. That solution is focused on, is this
What's the least
amount of features we need to solve these problems?
We also usually, sometimes it might be a prototype of the product, but other times it might be the marketing for the product, what we think we're going to go to market with. So we might do even less than design the UX. We're just trying to waste as little time as possible to find out if it's actually working.
And the key thing is the commitment. So getting people to sign up for something, getting that credit card, getting Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we start out with the problems. So we start out by asking about the problems, and it's
zero mock-ups to start actually.
Zero
The
mock-ups.
first design
Conversation.
is zero.
conversation. And if those problems resonate and we understand, we have some discussion about that, we do then show a demo. Sometimes it is more of us showing the demo, sometimes it is people thinking through. It kind of depends on what we're trying to do there. And then we do ask, after that, are these things solving the problems that we talked about earlier? Because we want to get a sense of, are these things matching what we sometimes do? Often our solution, though, it's something, minimum feature set, you might hear that a lot. That solution is focused on, is this
What's the least amount of
features we need to solve these problems?
We also usually, sometimes it might be a prototype of the product, but other times it might be the marketing for the product, what we think we're going to go to market with. So we might do even less than design the UX. We're just trying to waste as little time as possible to find out if it's actually working.
And the key thing is the commitment. So getting people to sign up for something, getting that credit card, getting
Yeah.
So at FreshBooks, you guys have a culture that's for new people and
Yeah, about 1,000 people a year.
How do you guys actually cultivate that where you really take away time from your production and everything else on your plate and really focus on that user research, which does take a lot of time?
Well, I guess I can speak to that. It's my
Go
job.
ahead.
The biggest thing, I think, the best advice I can give you is to automate it. So don't make it an optional thing. Make it so that 4 people show up, for your team on an automated schedule, whether they like it or not. And so that was the biggest culture shift that we made. Was like, there's 4 people that are going to be here on Thursday. We better be ready for that. That's really kind of what forced it. Now we don't really need to do that. It just happens automatically. But when we were first starting out, making it an automatic thing, like like brushing your teeth, like a routine, really helped.
But how do you guys get people on the pool to actually come in weekly? Like that we're trying to work on that board of advisors. How do you actually get them to commit and want to give you that
We
feedback?
created something called collabs, which is like just an email that I sent personally out to the base, inviting them to be a part of our process, which has about 20,000 users that signed up to for us to reach out to them. And then we do sometimes see the same people every once in a while. We also complement that list with resources like usertesting.com. If you're not familiar, it's a product that allows you to reach a pretty large pool of a few million users online. So through that mix, you're able to figure it out. But I realize if you're just starting out, I know there's a company here in Toronto, I think it's called BetaKit, that will help you recruit and do some testing early on. I know it's a challenge if you're just starting out. But just putting out a personal email actually was one of our hacks, like telling your users you care. That's it.
Last question.
So I do follow FreshBooks on Medium, by the way, and I think one of the previous articles I've read was about deep ethno research that you guys have done before. Maybe I'm a little bit unclear about that particular instance, but so what happens, this is kind of a specific question, what happens when you conduct ethno, and if you wanted to say, be with a truck driver for an HVAC company that actually goes out and bounces around, as a self-employed person, what happens when you get rejected, for example? How do you actually offer them the service that we want to conduct rapid research on you?
Right, so I have not done that particular truck driving scenario, but I like it. And I have a friend
driving.
No, but I have a friend at EcoBee, true story, and he did ride a lot, like he did do that, as did ethnographic research. He wrote along with all the people that installed thermostats, and it didn't seem controversial. They were excited. I mean, I don't know if this is a problem because I have, in my life at FreshBooks and then before in market research, I have never encountered a customer that wasn't excited to be a part of the design process. And we haven't found very much friction among our customers. So either we're incredibly lucky, or our assumption that people are evil is wrong. I'd like to believe that we're somewhere in the middle.
Well said.
Cool. Thank you.